Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining in. This is BlackHat Arsenal 2022, and for the next 25 or 30 minutes, I'll be talking about what is new in reNgine, what are the new features that have brought into reNgine, and how you can make the best use of it. For the last few months, we have worked really hard on bringing in a lot of exciting features into reNgine. A lot of these changes are in your user experience, in your user interface. We also have brought in a lot of actionable insights in terms of widget, such as, let's say, most vulnerable domains, most vulnerable subdomains, most commonly found vulnerabilities, most common CVE or CWE right? So those things are here in this change. That's something into user experience and user interface. One of the things that I've worked really hard is bringing in the subscan feature, and it is very fair to say that reNgine is the only reconnaissance tool right now, open source reconnaissance tool that provides the subscan feature. So what I mean by subscan is right now a lot of these tools that you have in the market right now, either commercial tools, either the open source tools, they allow you to run the pipeline of scans, and that's it. What reNgine 1.1 allows you to do is run the pipeline of scans, and once you have found out some interesting subdomain, you can pick one of them or multiple of them, and then you can proceed further. What do you want to do with that? Whether you want for the port scan, whether you want to go ahead with the vulnerability scan, or whether you want to go ahead with endpoints gathering. So you can do all of those things. So again, the other thing is PDF reports. A lot of people that work in corporates are probably even in the bug bounty space. They started asking, hey, can we download PDF reports from what reNgine produces, the results reconnaissance, what reNgine has done? Can we download the PDF report? And I'm happy to share with you all that. Now you can also download the PDF reports, and the PDF reports are very customizable. So that means you can change the look and feel of the report. You don't have to stick with the format that we have. You can write your own executive summary. You can change the way your report looks. A lot of these things are there. We will see how to use them. And we have also brought in some exciting features such as tools arsenal. So earlier you could not update the tools that we have used in reNgine. Say we use nuclei for vulnerability scan, right? Now updating the nuclei inside the reNgine was a little difficult. So now we have something called tools arsenal, where you can just go and update the tools that we use in reNgine. And we also allow you to add up some custom tools that you want to use with the subdomain scan. Let's say you want to use any third-party tool. You are not happy with our tool and you want to bring in from the GitHub. You can very well do that. So I think there's a lot of features that have come here, and I think next 30 minutes is good enough to explain to you how you can make the best use of these features, how you can integrate with your current or existing pipeline, and that's pretty much. So let's get started. Before I begin, a quick introduction about me. So my name is Yogesh, and I'm the creator of reNgine. I've been developing and maintaining reNgine for the last 2 years. I'm currently working as a research engineer at TRG Research and Development, and my research focus are on security engineering, and I build solutions for crime and terror. And also a quick note, we are also hiring at TRG. We are hiring at security research and cyber intelligence domain. Our team is most of the times it's remote. So if you're interested to join our team, you can have a look at it on careers.trgint.com. And I also love to build and break things, and I also love to speak at conferences. I've spoken at several conferences around the world. Some of them includes, I think this is my third time at BlackHat, and I've also spoken at DEF CON, HitBee, GreyHack. I mostly speak about IoT security, hardware hacking, and mobile application security. For the last few years, I've been talking mainly about reNgine, and that's something that I do full time. And if I'm not in front of a computer, if I'm not hacking or breaking things, I'm probably spending some time with my dogs, Jasper and Pi. That's pretty much about me. So let's get started. So for the people that are using reNgine, that have seen reNgine for the very first time, I think it's important that we also give you a background about what exactly is the reNgine and how you can use this. and whether it is useful to you or not. So reNgine is a web application reconnaissance suite. Its main focus is on highly configurable, streamlined recon process. So right now there are a lot of recon tools, right? You have a lot of different set of tools for subdomain scan. You have a different set of tools for port scan, and you also have a different set of tools for vulnerability scan. Now, using all these tools together, producing the results that's more understandable, that's more actionable, was very difficult. That's when 2 years ago, when I was in the bug bounty space and working as a penetration tester full time. That was my full time job, right? And what was happening was a lot of the things that I did in terms of reconnaissance was getting repeated, and the actionable insights that I needed was lacking. A lot of these tools that were already existing, the recon tools that existed, most of them give the results in terms of txt format. So you have a list of all the subdomains in the txt format. You had all the results in terms of the port scanning results in terms of, let's say, JSON format. You also have a vulnerability output in terms of txt file, JSON format, right? So it was very difficult for me to find out, hey, what is the most vulnerable subdomain, or which of these subdomain has these many vulnerabilities, which of the subdomain has port number 80 open. So the correlation was a missing part in the traditional recon process, and that's when I decided to build reNgine. So what reNgine does, and what is our strongest selling point, is that we have something called scan engines. So these scan engines are YAML based engines where you can configure how your scan is going to perform. So whether you want to do port scan, subdomain scan, and vulnerability scan, or whether you want to do also take screenshots, you don't want to do that, no problem, you can go ahead with endpoint gathering, or you just want subdomain scan. So everything that I said can be done with a very simple YAML config. And with this YAML config, you could also very well configure things such as the rate, or probably other tiny and minute features from the scan engine. So those things could be controlled. And over the time of developing, we brought in some interesting features, such as we also have continuous monitoring. That means, so if you wanted to monitor your target 24/7, let's say scan my target every 1 hour or 2 hours, you can do that as well. Or probably say, hey, scan my target every first week of the month, or probably the first of the month. You can do that as well. And we also have recon data that is backed by database. That means we store your reconnaissance, and the interesting part is all of this reconnaissance data lies in your on-premise, say it cloud, or it can be installed on-premise. So we do not hold any of your reconnaissance data. And we also have PDF report generation. That's mostly for corporates, people working in corporates, or probably even if you're a bug bounty hunter, a PDF report is something that might excite you. And we have, I think, when we released reNgine, one thing that it's fair to say that a lot of people like the user interface, because when you see a lot, this reconnaissance data in terms of a very fancy tabular structure, say this is the subdomain and you have this many ports open, right? So this tabular structure was liked by many people, and one of our strongest selling point is, of course, the user interface. And now over the time when we develop, we have brought in things like your deeper correlations. We can tell you the similar subdomains, we can find out, and also I forgot to mention that we have probably one of the really interesting feature to search over the reconnaissance data. That means, so what was happening was, in the past, with this reconnaissance data, if you're not really good at doing the graping, it's very difficult for you to find out, hey, which of these subdomains have port number 80 open. So what reNgine does is that it allows you to type the queries in terms of natural language, human-like language. Say HTTP_status equals to 200. That means it's going to tell you all the website that has HTTP status 200. And you can also combine a lot of these queries. Let's say HTTP status equals to 200 and content length greater than 0. That means it's going to show you all the websites, all the subdomain that has some content in it. So you can minimize your false positive. That's something you can do. So what reNgine tries to do is it aims to fix the gap in the traditional recon workflow, and it's a very much good alternative for your existing commercial and open source tools as well. So let's have a look at how reNgine looks like. So I think I've spoken a lot of these features already. We of course do reconnaissance, subdomain discovery, IP and open port identification. This is something that we do, of course. but we also have highly configurable scan YAML based scan engines. And of course, I also forgot to tell you that we support the parallel scans and subscan. So you can run multiple scans at a time, you can run multiple subscans at a time, and you also have powerful recon filtering with auto suggestions. We also have PDF report generation. I already spoke about it. Recon data visualization. We'll see that in the demo. And automatic vulnerability reporting to HackerOne. Yep. So as in when reNgine discovers the vulnerability, you can configure your how your report is going to look like, and as in when reNgine discovers the vulnerability, it's going to report to HackerOne. Currently we only support to HackerOne. Probably in the future we might bring in other bug bounty platforms such as Bugcrowd or Integrity as well. And we also have OSINT capabilities, and also we have customizable alerts and notifications on Slack, Discord and Telegram. What I mean by customizable alerts is that you can say, hey, only send me notification only when there are new subdomains found. You can do that. Hey, send me the notifications only when the high critical vulnerability is found. So those things is possible here. And we also have scheduled scan and continuous monitoring, so you can schedule the scan in the future, and you can also do the repetitive scans. We also have a screenshot gallery with filters. We have recon data changes, so you can find out how many of these subdomains appeared in the last scan, or how many of the subdomains disappeared in the last scan. So that's possible. Interesting recon data identification. Yep, you can define your interesting keywords such as admin, FTP, whatever is it. You can use those keywords, and reNgine is gonna notify you if it finds out any interesting recon data. And that's pretty much. We also have Toolbox. Yep, Toolbox came in reNgine 1.1. It comes bundled with the most commonly used tools such as your whois lookup, your CMS detector, your CVE lookup. Those things are available. I think it's better that we have a look at the demo of how reNgine looks like, and whether it's going to be helpful for your reconnaissance pipeline or not. So this is the dashboard of reNgine. A lot of actionable insights are there. So you can see here geographic distribution of assets. I think it's better I first talk about scan engines. So when you go to scan engines here, you can add your own custom scan engines, or you can also modify your engines that we already provide to you. We provide around 4 to 5 of these. So when you come here, you can define, you can select what your tool does, whether you want WAF detection, whether you want OSINT, whether you want port scan, or whether you want vulnerability scan or not. So I'm going to turn it off all. And you can also define what tools to use. Let's say I want to use only subfinder for finding out the subdomains, right? So you can do that. I don't want to use one for all for now. Let's delete this. So you can also see here all these minute configurations can be done from here, from the YAML itself. And let's click on update scan engine. So we have already defined the scan engine. It's time for us to go and add some targets. Let's say add target, click on HackerOne.com. You also have option to view the whois from here, so you can view this whois data from here. So let's click on add target. Let's click on initiate scan. Let's select this subdomain scan that we just now modified. Let's click on next. Let's click on start scan. So it was that simple for us to launch a scan on particular target. So once scan is done, let's click on view results. You can see this dashboard, and it says reNgine has identified 2 interesting subdomains and 3 interesting endpoints. So if you go down, you can also find out the geographic distribution of assets. So you can find out where your asset lies. The deeper the color is, the more number of assets lies into that particular zone. And if you come down, you can also find out the vulnerability breakdown by severity, and you can also find out which is the most vulnerable subdomain. It says right now developer.planet.com is the most vulnerable subdomain because it has 34 vulnerabilities. You can go and check which are the vulnerabilities it has. It's very simple to do. In the subdomains, you can see here we have subdomain, your HTTP status, your page title. These things are here. So that's how we show you the results. And I told you we have one of the most powerful recon filtering. So let's show you how it works. Probably it's better. Let's say I want to filter out this 404 HTTP underscore. So you also have auto completion equals to 404. Sorry, yeah. So you can see all the subdomain that are HTTP status 404 right now. And if you want to ignore them, it's very simple. You just do not 404. So you'll find out only the subdomain that has the HTTP status 200. You'll see 403, 503, but not the 404. You can also combine multiple of these queries. And so let's say come back here and content length is greater than 0. So you'll find out all the subdomain that has HTTP status not 404 and also content length is more than 0. So that's how you combine a lot of these queries, and you can reduce the false positive or find out that recount data which is most important for you. So I think that's pretty much about reNgine. That's how it works. So let's talk about what are the new features that we have brought in into reNgine. So let's talk about what are the new features. So the first thing is redesigned UI. As I told to you already, a lot of these changes that you see right now, subtle changes like your actionable insights, most common vulnerabilities, most vulnerable subdomains. So these user interface and user experience changes have been brought into reNgine. Next thing is subscan feature. So subscan, as I already explained to you what exactly is subscan. It's a lot of these existing open source tools that we have right now. They run. Let's say you have a target that's as big as google.com and it has 60,000 subdomains. Now, if you wanted to perform vulnerability scan or probably full scan, it might take forever because it has 60,000 subdomains, and running the endpoint scan, port scan, vulnerability scan on 60,000 subdomains is going to take you a lot of time, probably even forever, right? So what reNgine does is that allows you to just do the subdomain scan, and once you have found out the subdomain scan, just pick one of these subdomains and launch the subscan. So let's see the demo on how this works. So let's go back here. Now I have these subdomains, right? So let's click on these subdomains. You also can click here for the scan subdomain. So once you click here, it says what do you want to perform? Port scan? Yep, no problem. So let's click on initiate subscan. So you'll find out the subscan here task. It says right now it's port scan is currently working, and we have already found out the results that port number 80 and 443 was open in this particular subdomain. You can also, let's select multiple of these, initiate scan, and I want to do port scan. So once you come here, you will find out these subscans are running right now, and you can also go to scan history and subscan history, where you will find out all the subscans that we have run. And what is interesting is that these individual subscan results, you can also get it here. Let's say I had done the vulnerability scan on one of these Facebook subdomains. So once you click on view results, it's going to tell you here in the modal what are all the vulnerabilities that was found for this particular subdomain. And you can also do the same thing, filtering. Everything works perfectly fine everywhere. It's similar. It's really fast as well. So you can see right now all of the port scan have been completed, and it took only probably around 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, right? So it's really fast. You can give it a try. Now let's go to a PDF report. So a lot of people started asking, as I told you, they started asking, hey, can I download the PDF report? And the answer is yes. Since reNgine 1.1, we also brought in some really major changes, and one of them was PDF report. So I'll show you exactly how PDF report works. Let's go back here. Demo. Yep. So let's say let's go to scan history, and I want to download the PDF report for your this vulnerable web. Yeah. Before I think it's fine. We click on this and click on download report. So now it allows you to download what kind of report you want: full scan, reconnaissance, or only vulnerability report. Let's click on full scan and download report. So let's wait for some time, and it has generated the PDF. So you can see here it has downloaded this really beautiful, pretty PDF report. So you can see everything. All these things that you see here are auto-generated. You can also customize a lot of these things, which we'll see in the next. So let's go back here, click in settings, click on report settings. Now let's change the look and feel of the report. I want it to be blue, and I want secondary color to be grays. Company name is BlackHat. Company address is USA. Let's say you want to show footer text, no worries. Click on footer text, copyright Yokosuza, and of course show reNgine banner credit. And also let's say you want to show this executive summary as well, that also is possible. So click on executive summary, And what's interesting is that you can modify this whole executive summary. We have our own syntax, and you can see here, let's say on scan date, this is going to get replaced by the actual scan date, target name, whatever is it. So let's click on save report settings. Let's go back to scan history and download the report for the same right now. Download report, full scan. Yeah, so you can see now the report has been changed. You can see the company name, address, whatever we had given, your credits for reNgine, and we also have this executive summary. Now you see here on 12th July 2022, this particular subdomain engaged BlackHat to perform security audit. So you can customize this report whatever you want it to be. These observations, whatever is it, you can customize, and I think it's going to be super helpful for a lot of people for this PDF report. Next, let's look at the toolbox. So now, while doing the reconnaissance, we have found out that a lot of the tools that we use, such as your whois, and also your CVID lookup, your WAF detection, all these tools, they're most commonly used, and it's and what I decided was to have something like a toolbox where you have a collection of all these tools, and without adding the targets, without adding your endpoints, you can just go and search your WAF for particular endpoint, or probably search for any particular CVID. So we'll have a demo on that. Let's go back here to the dashboard. Let's click on this toolbox. So to access the toolbox, you have to click on these 4 boxes, and you can find out the most commonly used reconnaissance toolbox tools. We plan to bring other tools as well in the future. Let's first click on whois, and probably let's give blackhat.com. So click and search whois, and you'll find the whois for this particular one, admin, technical, whois, name servers, right? So, and you can also add blackhat.com as a target directly from here. And as I said to you, we also plan to bring other tools here. If you have any tool suggestions, feel free to raise the issue feature request in GitHub, and I'll be happy to look at the tool and probably bring it here as well. And let's go back to the slides. Yeah, and also the universal search. Yep, so what I mean by universal search is that now you can search across all the reconnaissance data. So not limited to your targets and not limited to your scan history. Now you can also search all over the targets. So let's say you want to search for admin, you can search it everywhere in all of the targets that we have. So let's have a demo. Let's go back here, and I want to search for, let's say I want to search for FTP, right? So let's search for FTP. So now it's going to tell me all the website that has FTP, not limited to one particular targets or not limited to one particular subdomains. And it also does search on your endpoints, also on vulnerabilities. So let's say I want to search for admin. So I have it's taking some time to search. Yeah, so I have around 106 subdomain that has admin. Google, you have your google.com, your ngplanet, right? You can also come here and search for endpoints that has admin. You can also search for vulnerabilities that includes admin in one of the descriptions, titles, whatever is it. So this universal search, I plan to extend it to your whois records and also to other data that we have in reconnaissance. Yep, that's how universal search works. Let's go back now to PPT. Yeah, tools arsenal section. So from this section you can add or update the tools. You can update existing tools what we have in arsenal, such as your nuclei, httpx, nabu, whatever tools that we have in our arsenal. Now you can update them and also add. So let's quickly have a look at it. Let's go to settings, tools arsenal. So let's search for httpx and check for update. Okay, let's click on nuclei. So I think it's all new. Nabu, probably it's again new. Yep, so if there is any update, you will also get notified saying that, hey, there is a new version of this tool that that's available, and you might want to update it. So you'll get the notifications for all of these tools that you have here. So we have these here, and you can also filter using default or custom. So if you have added any custom tools, you'll also get to see here. So we also allow you to add on custom tools. So if you're not happy with the tools that we have, such as if you want to add on subdomain scan tool, you can very well do that. So let's see how we can add new tools. I'm giving it a try to this turbo lister. So let's come back here. It says tool name, so turbo. And does this subdomain gather, so does this tool gather subdomain? Yes. This is the GitHub tool logo we don't have, license we don't have, description, subdomain gathering tool. And how does this tool install? So we need to do git clone and then this tool, and it is update command is of course git pull, because it says if the tool uses git clone, you need to update the tool by using git pull. And how do you check the version? We don't need this, we don't need this. If you have, okay, so if the tool tells you the version number, you might also want to look up insert the version lookup command. Now how does this tool gather the subdomain? So we have to go back and check here. Looks like it says Python and turbolister.py minus d and domain name, right? So what we can do here is that tool name. So let's say we have, you can see Python 3. Now wherever is it installed, you don't have to worry about that, and we need to do Python and turbolister.py, right? turbolister.py and minus d target minus o output. It's that simple. So once you click on add tool, reNgine will download that tool for you, and once you filter to custom, so you can find out this turbo tool here. Now what you can do is you can go to scan engines, and if you want to add this tool on your workflow, use this tool, and the tool name that we had given was turbo, right? So you can click on turbo, click on update scan engine. So that's how you use custom tools. That's how you can add a custom tools directly from the UI, and it's pretty simple as well. And now we have whois section. I think I already explained, but let's have a look at how this whois works. So we have added this whois into Toolbox, and also while adding the targets, you can also view the whois. So once you click on add targets, let's say I want to add target for blockrod.com, you can click on view whois, and it's going to tell you the whois, whether this is the tool that you, so this is the target that you want to add or not. Click on whois, name servers, right? You can also access whois directly from this toolbox section here in the whois. That also is possible. Now let's go back and see other feature, that is column filtering. Yeah, this was also one of the most requested feature in reNgine, and we have finally brought in columns filtering. So the way it works is, let's go back to the scan history. Now once you click on view results, you can filter out, let's say in the subdomain you don't want to see these IPs right now, so you can click on these three dots, you can click on these ports to hide, content length also you don't want, response time you don't want, right? So now you can filter out these columns using that column filtering. That also works with the vulnerabilities as well, whether you want to see some, but let's say right now I don't want this vulnerable URL because it's too long, so you can hide that. I also don't want discovered on, let's hide that. I think that's pretty much. I probably might have forgotten to show you geographic distribution. I'm not sure if I showed it to you, but once you go to scan history, let's go to dashboard, and everywhere in the target summary section and also in your scan history section, now you'll see a small section which is called geographic distribution of assets. This helps you find out where your assets are located. So let's take an example for this particular target, and you will see that most of its assets are located in Benin, and also some are in United States and some also in this particular country. Let's take another one, probably google.com, right? This has more subdomains. Yeah, so you can see here a lot of these are in Russia, in US. You can also find out these countries where these assets are located. So that's pretty much. You also now get to see this HTTP status breakdown. Yep, this widget is going to be super helpful for you to figure out how many of these subdomains are like 404, how many of these subdomains are right now alive. So let's go to Facebook, and you can see here most of it's at 302, but around 799 subdomains at 200 alive, right? You can also see that here. And also once you go to these subdomains, you can download now these selected whatever these subdomains that you have selected, you can download them as txt as well. Download selected subdomains, so you can copy or download as txt as well. That's pretty much. And I think we have come towards the end. If you do have any questions, please drop down your questions in the chat box. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining in, and I hope you have a very good time in the BlackHat. Thank you so much.